All right. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year, the first official Wednesday of 2025, the first day of 2025. So, Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you had a wonderful New Year's Eve celebration, if you did celebrate, and just really hope you're happy and well. And I'm also happy you're here, and you're probably wondering, what am I talking about here? You might have looked at the playlist and perhaps it piqued your interest. Maybe it's a little more or lighter than my other playlist, my podcast playlist. So for whatever reason you're here, I'm glad you're here. I don't believe in accidents. And also, the very reason I am recording this was by no accident. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. And let's get into it. So why am I here? Why are you here? Last year, and I try not to ascribe to New Year's resolutions because I do feel that they put a lot of pressure on you. I try to focus more on what I want to do differently today than I did yesterday. And so that's how I'm coming at it from that vantage point. And so I'll tell you a little bit of how I got to where I am today. It's actually not a lot of a surprise. I think I would have gotten here eventually. And so I'm excited to share this journey with you. So really long story short, I have been struggling to lose weight for a really long time. Actually, roughly about off and on for 10 years, specifically tied to a lot of the health issues that I've had and that I'm struggling with. So I've tried a lot of different approaches. Obviously the tried and true diet and exercise, which works up to a point, but it does become challenging, at least in my perspective, because I did have some re-injuries, which made it difficult. And so I had to make some adjustments to how I thought things would progress one way, and unfortunately I had to take a different approach. So long story short, I realized that for me personally, I had to do things differently. And something that I've always been attracted to over the course of me trying to lose weight has been fasting. Fasting for me is a very spiritual, a very meditative and very powerful approach. And not just because of the weight loss aspect, but really because of the spiritual aspect for me is really important, because typically when I have fasted, it's because I'm trying to unlock a barrier that I'm struggling with, a personal struggle, whether it's professional or something else. Everyone has a different name for it. Some people call it meditation. Others will have reflective moments. I really believe in the power of fasting, not just from the health aspects, but also from the spiritual mind-body connection aspect. So it's something that I've always been drawn to off and on throughout this weight loss journey. And a few weeks back, I came across a podcast interview with Steven Bartlett. He has a podcast called Diary of a CEO, which is phenomenal, and I highly recommend it if you haven't checked it out. And in this particular episode, he was interviewing Dr. Mindy Pelz. Now, I don't know all of her credentials. I do know she's a doctor, and she's been actually in the field for quite some time, and she has an extensive background. And all of her experiences led her to where she is today. And her primary focus today is to help people unlock their best self through fasting. And I was really fascinated by the way that she broke it down, because I've known about fasting because and everybody comes to it differently, but for me personally, I grew up in the church, and so this is something we heard about off and on. There were time periods where you should fast, depending on whether you were trying to get a breakthrough or if there were specific designated days that the church as a whole was fasting, or just because for reasons within your own personal or within your family, there was a need to call a fast. And so I did grow up with it and exposed to it heavily, so this wasn't something that came as a surprise. So when she talked about fasting, what really the key for me, what really unlocked things for me, was the scientific explanation behind it. And I honestly have not seen anyone break down and explain fasting the way that she did. And it was such an eye-opener for me. And it really is what got me excited about trying fasting in earnest, like really giving it a go, but really putting all in to the fasting. And that's where I found myself, because everything that she was explaining about what happens at different stages of fasting really resonated for me because of the things that I'm struggling with. And also it resonated for me because I realized that some of the roadblocks, if you will, that I was having during my fasting attempts had a lot to do with how I was fasting. And the way she explained everything was simple, so practical, that it really opened up my eyes to wanting to give fasting a go, but really do it in earnest. And although, and we'll get into how I'm going to be doing this fast and where you come in, but really quickly, like I said, it was about roughly two or so weeks ago that I came across this interview, and I went all in. So I did my first 36-hour, I turned into a 38-hour fast. A day or two after I saw the podcast, I decided I wanted to push myself and lean into this. And so for 38 hours, I did not consume any food. I did have coffee, and also I had tea actually for that first 38-hour fast. And then I did another fast the following week where I was pushing myself to fast for 72 hours. I made it to 63 hours. And the only reason I broke my fast is because I was meeting up with a friend and we were gonna grab a bite to eat. So I decided to break my fast early because I wanted to meet up with my friend. And it was different than my previous fast. And I realized I've unlocked something for myself and I'm really excited about it. So I promised myself, and I made a commitment to myself, that in 2025, I was going to incorporate fasting into my lifestyle. So not just a one and done, sprinkle here and there, but really and truly practice fasting as a lifestyle. And so that brings me to where I am today. So obviously it's January 1st. I am starting my fast today. So you may not be able to start right when I'm starting. Maybe you could start later today. And if not, don't worry about it. I'm actually going to be doing a fast every single week, and I'll be sure to announce it in advance before I jump in. I have a whole person to lose in terms of weight. I am at my biggest that I have ever been. I just weighed myself this morning. I am exactly 377.6 pounds. And to me, this is really about transparency. I would usually be very mortified to even share what my weight is, but I'm looking to do this as a community. So if anybody wants to fast with me, then please feel free to join me. Feel free to add to the comments. I will be posting to the community board on YouTube, and I'll be sharing my progress and how things are going. And I will be actually posting every day. I'm not gonna commit to multiple times a day, but I will at least do one check-in to see how things are going. And no, they won't always be off camera, but I'm just, again, experimenting back and forth. Obviously, I feel much more comfortable off camera because I'm still getting used to being on camera, but I'll switch it up. So it won't always be off camera for sure. Please, if you're interested, if you've ever thought about fasting and the benefits, do join me. I do highly recommend you check out Dr. Mindy Pelz. I know she has a YouTube channel. I also know that she has a book because I went ahead and got it. called Fast Like a Girl, and highly recommend if you're even curious about what fasting could do for you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just about weight loss. Again, for me, it's more about discipline. And to me, discipline really leads into everything else. So I am doing this from a standpoint of I want to be more disciplined, and I want to choose what I put into my body, and I want to choose whether or not I eat, and I don't want my emotions to dictate when I eat or anything else, or stress, or whatever the case is. And also, I do have a specific goal in mind because I have an upcoming follow-up visit with my primary care physician, and that is on January 27th. So my goal is to make a significant improvement. I saw her it was last month that I saw her. And so this will be about a 2-month check-in to see where things are, to see what my levels are, and see what we need to do next. So this, to me, is just a really good opportunity to be more intentional with my eating, be more intentional with my choices as it pertains to my health, and also to hold myself accountable. So that's also partly why I'm doing this on YouTube rather than just doing it secretly or privately, whatever you want to call it, because I do believe that there's power in accountability and transparency. So this is what this is about for me as well. And I hope that you'll join me as well. Maybe if you have some pointers and tips. I have learned quite a bit doing the 2 fasts that I did prior to the one that I'm starting today. So today's fast, I really started, I'd say, when I went to bed, which was super late, of course, because it was New Year's. So about 4 a.m. this morning is when my fast officially started. I'm sure it started before then, but I don't remember the exact time. So I'm just saying, when I hit the bed, that's when my fast officially started. I plan to go for at least 72 hours. That is my goal. So until, let me do the math really quick. I think that puts us into Saturday at 4 a.m., which obviously no one's getting up at 4 a.m. to actually eat anything. So it's probably going to be sometime Saturday morning where I'll break my fast. And between then, I'll tell you about how it's going and any tips and tricks that I have found that have been super helpful. And Dr. Peltz has a lot of them. So if you want to jump into her videos, do feel free. But I will also share what I have learned so far and what has been working. And hopefully we can support each other and encourage each other and make this the year that we finally find our stride and find a practice of discipline that works for us and get to our best selves. So until next time, take care.